I think a lot of people don't understand what athletes really go through. And
what does mental health mean to you?
I think it's the number one thing in terms of being happy in a place wherever you are, right?
Once you reach top, you don't want to stop.
He was a big fan of cricket. I mean, his mom is from South Africa, and there were many times where we were at Wimbledon in the locker room. Roger and me used to play cricket. At 20, I need to do this. At 30, I need to do this. At 35, this is what I can do. At 40, this is what, okay, it's done. My career is done.
Hi, welcome to The Other Side. I'm your host, Dilip, an entrepreneur and an endurance athlete. In this podcast, we will explore the experiences of high-performing individuals while unpacking their mental and physical fitness routines that took them to where they are.
My guest today is Rohan Bopanna, a Grand Slam champion, winner of 24 ATP doubles titles and an Asian Games gold medalist. He's been part of the Indian Davis Cup team for 23 years. He's known as the grand gold old man of Indian tennis because at the age of 43, he was the oldest to reach a Grand Slam finals in doubles. There's a lot to explore his other side. Let's get to the podcast. Before you get to the podcast, I have a request. It would mean a lot to me if you can send in me your feedback and suggestions and how I can get better in what I do. Also, if you could just subscribe this channel in whichever podcast platforms you listen to, Spotify, Apple or YouTube, that would just help getting this podcast to more people. Let's get to the podcast. Rohan, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking time to come and have this conversation with me.
Thanks, Dilip. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this conversation between us.
I'm super excited and there's a lot to explore and unpack your other side. I want to start, what's it with Coorg to be creating so many athletes, badminton, tennis, cricket, track and field? What's so special about Coorg?
I think the number one thing is the love for sports. I think that comes definitely first. It has always been a culture. So I think no matter which household you go, sports is encouraged a lot. Yeah, I think now a lot more kids are getting more opportunities there. More facilities are getting better in Coorg, and schools also are providing, better opportunities for students in Coorg. So I think that has, really made the difference. And from a young age, you see your parents playing sports as well. So that's, I think, a big encouragement, and hence I think Coorg is always churned up athletes, from that part of the state of Karnataka.
Yeah, no, I was surprised. I was reading up the facts, and 2016 Olympics, Coorg had the most number of athletes in the Indian squad. So that was very refreshing stats for me to read. The most coming from Coorg district.
That's lovely to hear. I didn't know that also.
Yeah, and who according to you has been the most underrated athlete for Coorg, apart of course from you, but who else?
I mean, I think there are plenty, but I think Joshna Chinnappa, I think is someone who has, I feel, been a little, underrated. I'm glad that I think Olympics is having in 2028 squash, being introduced, and I keep telling Joshna that, she needs to keep pushing for the next 8 years. I said, even if you have to take 4 years off and come back, you need to give it a shot. But I feel, she's someone who works extremely hard. I've known her for now a good 20 plus years. And from the time I've met her till today, I think she's someone who's always had a great work ethic, and really wants to put 200%, every time she's in competition. So sometimes I tell her, you need to also take it easy. So, I think she's an athlete who I think, comes to my mind.
Yeah, no, Joshna, if you're listening, watching, we are all cheering for you. So Coorg means, childhood. You've born and, grown, spent a considerable amount of childhood in Coorg. At the age of 11, I think you started playing sports, different sports, football, hockey. At what point did you feel or you realize that you could be good in tennis?
I think from day one, when I was going to school, that is one thing I did not want to go. I always created a, ruckus before going to school. I don't know if anywhere I've said this or, the driver who should take me to school, or at least take me, the few days I couldn't sit in the school bus, was that he used to literally tie the passenger door towards his door, because I would just randomly open it in the middle. And then in school, there was cricket and football. I mean, not that it was just a small ground in one ground. Whoever got the chance to play when your seniors played, you got that opportunities. And I loved being outdoors. I think anytime I was at, home, I had this one small helmet, and anytime that was missing, my mom knew I was in the coffee estates. Because anytime I was going under the coffee estates, those sticks used to come. So she knew if the helmet. So I was always an outdoor person. The tennis court was very close to our house, I used to go there to watch my parents play tennis, be a ball kid. And I think that's where the interest really started. And apart from school, a few members of that small club called Madhapur there, all the children we all were similar age group. So we had a good group of friends, and we look forward to meeting every evening post school. And I think that's when we constantly saw our parents playing tennis, and the love for that sport slowly started picking up.
So was sports a general fabric inside the family? Was it like a common language which you used to speak, or was it only because of your demeanor of being an outside kid, you picked up sports? How was the growing up fabric in family?
I think the sports was always, very much part of the family. Both my dad and mom played sports, but tennis was something very new. Tennis only happened when my dad finished his college in between his, when he was in college, he was playing hockey and he fell down and broke his arm. So then my grandfather, told him, he was in Madras Christian College, and he said, come back to Coorg. You need to take care of the estate now. You can't be there with a broken, arm. And he happened to be in Coorg. And a few of his friends, they were there hanging out all over the place. And then my granddad said, I'll give you a piece of land, build a small tennis club, or a club. And then y'all just hang out here instead of just hanging around all over the place. And that's when I think there were 8 founding members of this club who built a tennis court. Couple of them knew how to play a little bit tennis. They taught each other tennis. Built this tennis court, taught each other tennis. And when they got married, they taught their wives tennis. So, so it was a really interesting part. It's like a small family club even till today. Every member who comes in there. It's not like, when you go to a country club that someone is a stranger. Everyone knows each other. So I think that passion, no matter which kid played a sport, whether it was your parents or their friends, they encourage it. So I think that was a huge, part of that club culture, and the people there from Coorg who always encourage, no matter, even if you hit a ball outside the fence, they would be always encouraging. They wanted you to try sports, and tennis was a big culture in those evening, just hang out for all the friends. I think that is where the first love for tennis came. And
But what caught the attention? Because I suppose this is late 80s, early 90s, where perhaps tennis didn't had that kind of an attention as what it is now. And I would assume maybe cricket or hockey would have been more dominant and more aware in media. So what was it about tennis that this bunch of 6 people really saw and wanted to adapt it?
So I think back then, Wimbledon was the only Grand Slam which was shown on Doordarshan, so they always kind of watched it. And 1975, when my parents on their honeymoon, they went to UK, and my dad said he wanted to go to watch Wimbledon. Obviously not knowing whether he has to, how to get tickets or whatever, he just thought he could just go there and get tickets. So he went with his very close friend who had also just got married as well. So they both of them went on the honeymoon to UK. And they told their wives, okay, you wait at the hotel, we'll go see what is happening there. And they went there to Wimbledon. First time when you see it there, it's like the mecca of our sport. And my dad still says that, there were few people coming out, and Wimbledon, when you come out, you can actually give the ticket to somebody and they can actually re-enter the grounds. And that's what happened. And my dad and my uncle, they both went into Wimbledon to get into this entire stadium. And I don't know what my dad says, he wanted to go watch center court. And obviously he didn't have a ticket. So he went there, somehow convinced the usher to let them in. And he said back then you could stand on the stairs and watch as well. So they were literally there for about 4 or 5 hours just watching tennis, and then came back and then told my mom, oh, unfortunately there are no tickets, we can't really go. And I think after that, when he came back, I mean, I was born in 1980, he always had that love for tennis, and he wanted, I think, me to play tennis, though he didn't know tennis needed to be started that early or something. So he only introduced me to try and start the playing tennis only when I was 10 and a half, 11. So hence I think that love for tennis was always there. Everybody were kind of loved that sport, and I think that's how the tennis club was actually started.
So what I'm taking is that, the family once gets a root in sports, it obviously gets spilled over to the generation, and of course parent would feel that this is something which kids should do, for not just taking tennis as a profession, because that may be too early, but perhaps it could be a toolkit to have a character development, skill development, right? So from there, and you saying that it's early age of 10 to 11, what made you think that you could continue pursuing it till the time you turned pro? I suppose you turned pro at around 16, 17?
No, actually almost 21.
Oh, 21. Okay,
yeah.
So from 10, 11 years till 21, just good 10 years.
Yeah.
What made you in that 10 years believe that that's a sport which you can continue and perhaps pursue a career out of it?
I think initially the thought of also me getting into tennis, I think was because my dad played a lot of team sport. And for some reason, every time there was a school competition, a team sport competition, he would not send me. He said, play in school, but you're not, because I think for the fear of when he was in competition and someone tripped him and he broke his arm, that fear I feel there was significantly always there. Then, he said, okay, let's try an individual sport.
So tennis was a safer bet.
I think definitely a safer bet. He said, there's nobody going to trip you. There's no, you're far away from the opponent. So I feel in somewhere, in back of his mind, that was very much,
But he wanted you to play sport.
He wanted individual to play sport. I think, and then individual sport. And it was extremely close to our house. I mean, we could walk there. Since, as I said, my granddad, gave that land. It was right there next to our coffee plantation. Of course, later on it became much more difficult because every morning he used to take me to play tennis, and he was really strict with me in terms of, whatever he had learned tennis through the book. He had studied, so back then there was just one continental grip. So whether I serve, forehand, backhand, volley, everything was one grip. Today you have various different styles of grip. But back then the book said this is the only way. And he used to take me before school. One thing I liked was I spent a lot more time on the tennis court than going to school. Sometimes I went for tournaments. So in a way I was missing school. So I was kind of, I think, more inclined to, just being away from school. But yeah, I mean, those days, I don't think, I was just doing what my dad asked me to do, whether it was running in the morning, every morning, on the road. I still remember 5:30, 6 o'clock, getting up and running in Coorg. It's pitch dark, and then you get used to it, obviously, because, it's so quiet and there's not even a street lights and everything. And then we had no gyms, nothing in Coorg. I mean, even till today, we don't have anything in the club. There's not even a gym there. So he built a couple of things for my gym workout. He stuck 2 poles up. Like a more U-shaped but upside down, and he put a rope there, and he said this is a knots, and he said rope climbing, and he had a log of wood, and he gave me a hammer, and he said to keep hitting it. He said that, I don't know, don't ask me from where he learned that, but I kept doing that for a long period of time. I went to a few academies, and they said I was not good enough to be part of that academy, even though they had a selection process, went through all the selections, but I don't know, maybe I was too raw at that point of time. I was not good enough. And so only in 1994, there was this former tennis player called Nandan Bal. He had come to Mysore. So my dad said he has an academy in Pune. So he said, okay, let's go chat with him. And we spoke to him, and he said he saw me playing there in Mysore, and he said, we can't give you a scholarship, but you can come and enroll, in the academy. You can pay for it, and So my dad said, okay, if you want to continue this tennis at the age of 14, he said you need to go and stay by yourself. To be honest, for me it was fantastic. It was freedom, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be away from school, just been playing tennis. I want to do this. So we went to Pune. I think a week later or something, we went to Pune. We see this place where I'm going to stay. There's a warden. This is a hostel, I'm going to say, and we saw the tennis court and everything. And my dad said, okay, come, I'll take you somewhere. I said, okay, we're going to go shopping. So I said, this is great, let's do that. Takes me to a bicycle shop. And he said, this is your transport for going to fitness, going to tennis, everything. So it was about 14, 15 kilometers every single day, going in the morning fitness, coming back. This is, I'm talking from 1994. So the hostel, obviously no mobile phones, or the hostel didn't have TV. And the other thing, toughest I found was coming from Coorg, we had non-veg a lot. And Pune, the extreme opposite. No non-veg at all, especially in the thing. Was my only complaint to my parents every time they came, is that I'm just missing that. It was just something. But every day woke up at 5, went to fitness at 5:45, just did those things religiously without asking questions or whatever the coach asked me to do. Because the rule they had that if you missed fitness, you couldn't do tennis. And if you missed fitness, there was nothing else to do there. You just sit on the room, read a book, or just stare at a wall. There was nowhere else to really go. And so I did that for good 5 years. So only when I was 19, I finally told my dad, I can't take the bicycle anymore. I'd love to have a motorbike. When he got me a motorbike. But I think those years, really, strengthened my mind a lot, in terms of religiously doing. I wasn't the best player by far in the academy, but I got to play with a lot of good players, which I think in a way started improving my game gradually without it being straight away noticed. And at the age of 21, there was a big national tournament in Chennai, and I ended up beating players I had never beaten before. I ended up winning the tournament. And that suddenly changed the whole perspective. Also I was 6'3", gotten much stronger. So the ball was going harder, everything, serves got bigger. So I think everything fell in place in that 1 week, which I think tennis is all about, or any sport, is that 1 week can really make a change. And then in 2002, I got into the Davis Cup team, and, slowly the journey started actually. Yeah.
So, as you were speaking about your dad's involvement, slightly controversial, but I would love to have your take. So we have seen evolution of the parents anchoring a child's pursuit to also sometimes becoming obsession around the negative side. So, well documented, the growing up of Tiger Woods, the Williams sisters. What do you think is the line between a parent, because most of the time a kid in his early age doesn't even know whether he's made for the sport or whether he's going to like the sport. And we see now in this era that most of it is the parents' desire, because they wanted to play a certain sport, cricket or else, but they couldn't make it, and now they somehow feel the kid should come up and fill in that desire. So what do you feel is the thin line where a parent should perhaps pull back to say that, okay, I have done everything more in terms of being an anchor to my child, and now it's kind of a dangerous road because now I'm trying to be a negative reflection to my desires more than what my child's desire is?
I think it's a fantastic, question there, Dilip, because it is extremely important, and as like you said, it's a very thin line. And for me, I think initially when I was playing tournaments and my parents were there, I would feel nervous as well. Because, if I lose a match, my parents, or mainly my dad, would be very upset with everything. And then, then you don't want to lose, the match and then sometimes tell him I don't want to be there. But I think later on, obviously, I got to know my parents, told me is that if they had any disagreements, they never did it in front of me to start. Yeah, so that way, no matter what decision was taken, it felt like I couldn't go and, try and complain to someone else. And my dad said, once you're moving to Pune or, whatever it is, they said they are ready to trust the coaches. They're not going to interfere because they said it is those coaches who have these academies because they have a knowledge in that sport. So if I try and interfere, there's no point sending him there. So I think that was a very important factor, I think, which they, really, I think, foreseed in a big way of, thinking that. And I think that they stuck together, and whatever decision it was. And even till today, I say is that as a parent, right, we never go into a classroom to see what is going on, when the teacher is teaching. But when it comes to sport, we are right there on, in the corner, like tennis, I call them the fence coaches, who are on the fence. And so the kid is so nervous when he misses the ball because the parents' reaction, especially in a match and everything is... So I try to tell the parents, your reaction is a reflection to the kid straight away. So I think when a parent can trust that coaches, when they enroll the kid in the academy and just let the coaches take over, I think is what is making that difference. I tell them it's maybe your dream, but let the kid live his dream now. Give him that support of that journey, what dream you didn't have, but let the kid go through the journey. And I think for me, the minute I went away from my comfort zone is when I got better. The comfort zone today, most of the kids are with their training, but they're going back home. Parents are managing everything for them. When I started to be more responsible, more independent, I think that is when the drive to do better and wanting to play against better players and wanting to beat them is where changed everything.
So talking about dream, why is Stefan Edberg as an idol?
For me, like I said earlier, Wimbledon was the only one which was shown at home. And anytime, he played, the way he conducted himself in interviews or at the match, I think it just felt beautiful. We watched so many of his matches and the style he played, this, whether he lost the match, it's such a grace, and I felt, that's somebody, anytime, tennis was on, all my parents had to say, Edberg is playing and I was there. No matter, even if I played tennis and someone else was playing, okay, I'd glance, be there for 15, 20 minutes, but then go do my own thing. But Edberg's matches, I don't know, for some reason, I was always there, enjoyed the way he played, that serve with, I think, a good arch on his back, I think, was something which, today I feel when I serve, that is a significant part, to it. And I was lucky enough over the years to have met him, not only met him, but I did not in my wildest dream think that he's going to be watching my match. So in 2011, I was playing with dear friend Aisam Qureshi from Pakistan, and we were playing against Roger Federer and Stanislas Wawrinka in Indian Wells. And at that point of time, Edberg was coaching Federer. So he had to sit in the coaching as part of Federer's team and then watch the entire match. And obviously, that I had never ever thought would ever happen, but it was beautiful, and I met him many times after, and I really thought he was amazing. Someone who you have grown up watching, and how he was, and after I met him, I just felt there was no really.
Yeah, must be a surreal moment, like someone you've grown up idolizing. Does your impression change when you suddenly meet your idol? And you see them in front of you, and they have the body language, they're shaking hands with you, they're talking to you. When you walk out from that experience, does that impression change about that person?
It changed for the better in terms of, actually that how of an amazing person he was, and he wasn't like, sometimes, yes, it's overwhelming that even though I've traveled and been around locker rooms among the best of tennis players constantly, when you suddenly do see your idol, yeah, it is a little nervous. But the minute I went and spoke to him, and obviously I was speaking to him when he was most relaxed, and I think that even he has been through this journey for a long time, and he was happy to give some advice and even just generally chat. And I told him that he was my idol, and he was very thankful for that. Yeah.
What is the most common stereotype about tennis players which you think is not true?
That the grass is greener on the other side, especially when we travel to so many different countries that, the lifestyle is amazing, that you get to, visit, all these countries. And I tell anyone that anybody can do it. So they asked me how. I said, well, I pay for my ticket. I pay to get to this, places. I pay for my hotel room. So I said, if you do the same thing, you have the same lifestyle as me. Maybe, the work is different. But, today, yes, I'm playing at the biggest level of tournaments. But when I started, I still was doing the same thing, traveling to, countries, trying to earn points to, improve that ranking. So I think that is something which is, a little stereotype, I feel.
So from growing years to now, I think if you go to internet, they say Rohan Bopanna is the grand gold old man of Indian tennis. Rohan Bopanna has aged like a fine wine. You're almost, not almost, you're actually beating players who are half your age or sometimes even younger. Does all of this give you some satisfaction? How do you feel?
I think I'm still extremely proud with the way I'm able to compete at the highest level and still win tournaments. I think tennis is such a great learner that it brings you down to earth very quickly in terms of when you have tough moments. So when I do there's a lot of respect for every player when he's there in the locker room. I think because everyone understands the journey they've come through. Nobody is really just put in there. They have all earned their place to, get into this thing. So I think no matter, who you play against, of course, at the end of the day, you want to win. But yeah, I mean, today to be, part of a lot of records, which I never thought of that the age would be breaking. But yeah, it's amazing that, to be part of this journey. And, I still feel anytime there's a representation of, the country on all these tournaments, maybe I'm inspiring somebody from India, and that's how I look at it, and, keeps me, going out there.
Does your daughter, Trida, acknowledges the fact that her dad is a world record holder? Does it come in well to her to realize that, yes, he's just not a tennis player, but he's also a world record holder?
Trida is 4 right now, so she's not yet, gotten to that. And then sometimes she asks me why people come and take pictures with me, or, and then she says, oh, the autograph people have come, in terms of, so she's also learning. Suddenly she's, wherever it is at airports, someone comes and then she asks my wife, why do they need the picture? So she's also a little bit understanding, oh, okay, yes. She's a tennis player, but she's a big Alcaraz fan. A fan in the sense, not tennis-wise, but just I think she's the character, whatever it is. And then she watches on TV, and she's watching Novak as well. And then she can't understand why they're also in the player restaurant or player lounge. She's like, but I saw them on TV, but what are they doing here? So that connection is, still. Slowly happening. But, I'm thankful she can watch live matches of mine. And, obviously I didn't think that would happen. But, yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
No, it's amazing what you have accomplished, Rohan. I think, will it be fair to say that a large part of your success has also come in once you cross, the mid-30s, like post-35, 36. And I ask this more out of my personal curiosity also, that's an age, not just in sports. Of course, sports is very hard to maintain, but generally in elsewhere in, let's say, a professional life or otherwise, your enthusiasm and your energy to pursue more starts dipping down. It could, of course, be physiological levels, but otherwise you feel that you have reached a certain level and now you just kind of plateau down, or you want to settle down. But in your case, you've only gone up. So if there is any bell curve you could create, you perhaps have had the biggest skyrocket growth. What has worked for you post 35, which you feel perhaps was not coming in well before that in your, I can't call it prime, but pre 35?
Yeah, Dilip, definitely. 35 onwards, there have been, a lot more success. But also in a way, I feel tennis is being more shown in India. So that also kind of, in a way, a lot more people started watching and getting to know that aspect. But, having said that, I really feel I started, late in my tennis journey. I feel that it took good 20 years for that experience to really kick in, get maturity, and then slowly start building on it, and the minute I think I started believing in my game 100% in terms of, yes, I'm capable of, winning these big tournaments, being right up there with these guys. I think that slowly started, changing in terms of self-belief. I think that is where the transition, happened. Yes, everybody says you gotta believe, but, it has to come from within. And I started being more happy on the court. I think that played a, huge aspect. I thank my wife Supriya to play a huge part in this journey, because in some way, tennis is such a lonely tour, when you're out there, you're traveling by yourself, doing everything, to have a companionship, speak to somebody about it, not necessarily on how to hit a forehand or how to serve, but just the feeling of winning or losing a match. I think she being a psychologist kind of, I feel some way played a huge part in guiding me in the right way. I just feel that having the right kind of people around you. I mean, my coach Scott Davidoff, who has been with me for about good 12, 14 years now, also a significant, person in that journey. And I think, so having these two, people around constantly, and, anytime there's been a low point, I would speak to either one of them. And I think that's when you get the right kind of advice on how to move and how to figure out. And Supriya in many ways made me understand on how to communicate with the partner. I think that kind of really...
This is the partner on the court
while
you're playing.
On the court, so because she also had a good interaction, and then she obviously understands, I think people, thanks to her, feel naturally better than me. So I feel in some way, that also started playing a big factor in, when I speak to, the partner at moments, crucial moments, and that started kind of changing and helping that self-belief. I feel that, so there is a significant, change which happened.
And I think it's like they say, I mean, a lot of your growth in your career comes by the law of compound. So I think you've been compounding as what people might have been compounding the wealth. You've been compounding not just on the physical side, but on the mental side. And it's been said that mental strength is Rohan's superpower. Yes. So it's clearly comes to, intrusion that you're able to pull off things which very few people, not just in tennis, but across different sports could, do at this level. But we'll get to the mental side of it, because that's in, topic which I would really want to double click with you. But we can't just discount the physical side of it, right? I mean, tennis is an absolutely high impact sport. And we were just talking that you have no cartilage on your knees, right? Playing a high impact sport like, tennis, I can't imagine how many painkillers you would be popping up. What has worked for you in terms of, I can't even start, like recovery, performance? Where do you even start with someone to play at this level, what you're doing? How do you look at that preparation from a physical standpoint, that where do I start to where, to what point should I go?
Yeah, I mean, there's, so much which has gone, over the years. I'm a firm believer of doing something in short-term aspect, short-term goals, short-term to try something and then figure out the long-term plan of it. So I think, yes, I've had numerous of painkillers, over the years, there's no question. To 2019, I was on 2-3 painkillers a day because I, literally no cartilage on my knees, and it's extremely painful. And some matches, I needed those couple painkillers to just get me going. And then 2019, I'm 39, years old, and I'm thinking, okay, obviously it's, time to maybe stop. So end of 2019, I decided to take some PRP injections, some hyaluronic injections, tried few different things. It was not really working. So my cousin sister Jyoti, she told me, she was teaching yoga. And she told me, I asked her, should I try, yoga? She said, for your condition, you need to try Iyengar yoga. She was teaching Astanga. She said, my teaching style won't work. Try Iyengar yoga. So I said, okay, after I did those injections, I said, let's see how it goes. So the next couple of months, the first month, January, was still fine. I felt okay. I said, oh, maybe this is something would work. But literally after end of Australian Open, at the end of January, when I went to Doha to play a tournament, and I started feeling the pain again, and it's like, okay, this is not really comfortable, not great. But I said, I spoke to my doctor, so he said, it's, you never know. I mean, sometimes it works, but for obviously a professional athlete who's constantly jumping and, moving all directions, it's never a few people it has worked, few it has not. And I think COVID was a blessing in disguise, because when that happened, during that period, I found husband and wife, Mohan and Jaya, they have a studio called the Practice Room. And I said, who teach Iyengar yoga.
Okay.
And they happened to be right close to our house. And I spoke to them and I told them, this is my condition. I would love to, come and see if you guys can help. And they took it upon themselves to really see if, it could make a difference. And they came, they studied my videos, they studied the way I was walking and everything. And they slowly started building a few different types of exercises. And for me, I always thought yoga was just too slow. It was not for me. And I think maybe the age in some way kind of, helped that, be patient, try it out, let's see how it goes. So I think, and also somebody who's always persevered at everything, my perseverance being an extremely big strength in my journey. I said, okay, let's try this, let's give it a shot. So I started going 4 times a week to them, about 90-minute sessions. And almost, I would say 6-7 classes later, I felt much better. I started when I was walking and I was getting up in the morning, suddenly the pain started becoming less. And I said, okay, something is, probably working here. So I kept giving them, good feedback. And after that 4 months, when the tennis started in September and I went back to play, I suddenly started feeling so much better. And yes, at times I took that painkiller because in my back of my mind, I was like, that painkiller is still what is, kept me going. So I can't just stop that. But then later on, a few times, I think maybe I ran out of it or, so then when I was playing, it felt okay. I was like, okay, so I don't really need
more
this.
Of a placebo though.
Yeah. So, so I completely changed my training regime in terms of so even till today, I don't go to the gym anymore. So I started doing that yoga as much as I can whenever I was in Bangalore. So then they said, try some online classes, which for me, even till today, doesn't work. So when I went to hotel rooms, I used to take pictures of, because Iyengar yoga uses a lot of props like ropes and blocks and chairs and everything. So I started taking picture of the chairs in the room or the sofa in the room to show them this is what is there, and they would send me some exercise on what can be done for that. So I religiously started doing that. I was, hanging upside down with these ropes in the gym, in the, off the tennis fences and some places thinking, what am I doing? And, so in some way that kind of not only strengthened my legs in a big way, but also started aligning my body better, I felt. The yoga did. And also, I think, strengthened my mind. So today when I am training and I'm doing the recovery part, I do ice bath a lot.
Okay.
A significant amount. I think it has really, really helps tremendously. I mean, when I'm playing, like this year, I don't think there was, after a match, I hadn't gone to an ice bath. I've always, done that. And it's the best recovery, I feel. And I told my physio currently who's traveling with me, her name is Rebecca, she's from Belgium. When she came on board, this is the first year for her coming on board, and I told her, this is my condition, this is what we need to work on. We need to start strengthening my quads, glutes, hamstrings. And that is I said, I want to feel pain-free on the court. So I think she understood that, and she really focused on that. So I started doing a lot of stretching, mobility, and in a way, I was glad she was there because, I was like, okay, there's someone else accountable for me to get up and make sure I did that. So these specific things I started changing and working on is what I think transformed that recovery part and getting me pain-free to be able to now feel fresh on the court and play pain-free. And that has, I think, slowly made that difference.
So Ron, my curiosity now is that, what is a mental model for a person like you to what time or what duration to give to a new learning or a new methodology which can either help you recover or get your performance? And I ask this because I'm a runner, an amateur runner, and I see a lot of people around me when they get injured, it could be an ITB issue, runner's knee, plantar, most of them need quick solutions and they need quick recovery because they want to come back to running. And I often struggle to understand why, because running is not getting food to their plate. It's not their profession. Unlike a professional athlete like you, where you staying injury-free is extremely important, and therefore you might be at the vantage point where people might be on your side all the time giving you recommendations. So what's your mental framework to say how much of time should I give to a new methodology, and how do you go about in choosing what is good or bad for you?
I think the number one thing is to, when you're doing any kind of sport, whether it's amateur, professional, whatever, to have a routine and to do it 365 days a year. Most of the times when we get injured, we want quick results, and after we get better, we've completely neglect the whole routine we are doing. Hence, it doesn't really get fully recovered. So I think that is where, as a professional, we are constantly working on doing, like I said, going to ice bath or doing the stretches. That is, no matter, even if you're 100%, you still need to do it. Wake up and do it. And that needs tremendous willpower and discipline. And I think over the years that has taught me, to constantly do that. And I really feel, whatever it may be in terms of whether you want to eat certain kind of food or drink something, after your career, those things are still going to remain. So you can, if you want to really indulge and do that, there are sacrifices you got to make to create that journey of yours, no matter what it is. It is a self, within yourself, whatever it may be, has to come in to, make that change.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people might be pinching themselves when you were saying this, because I think consistency in doing a certain routine often gets ignored, and I feel that can become a superpower, like you rightly said, not just for amateurs, but of course for elite athletes, but also amateurs, because that just unlocks a very different level of performance. Because if you just keep doing it, and can't agree much, because I identify myself to be one of them, because I would get maniacally particular about my strength routine when I'm injured. And when I'm not injured, when everything is going fine, I would not care about it. That's so true. And it also talks a lot about the character of a person, because you tend to ignore often things which you feel are unimportant, but those small aspects contribute to what you become in the larger side of it.
I think it's also a human nature that we get lazy sometimes. So, what happens is when you're injured, you go to a specialist, and by going to that person, he's waiting for you. You're responsible for his time, and everything. Suddenly, when that changes, now it's just for yourself.
Yeah.
So I always say is have somebody there throughout your days. Even if he comes twice a week, thrice a week, just that someone else coming there gives you that much more responsible to say, okay, you know what, I need to go and do this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very easy to push it to say, you know what, I'll do it later. Let me do it in the evening. And, it never happens. It never happens. I'm saying in personal experience also, sometimes I push it and it doesn't get done. And then I tell myself, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And then, make sure, even if it's 15, 20 minutes, which I think everybody has that time. Just need to find that, routine. And the other number one thing is to get good sleep. I feel recovery, your body recovers when you have good amount of sleep, good 7-8 hours of good sleep. It makes a difference. I mean, when I travel, I feel that I have more downtime compared to when I'm here in Bangalore, because obviously that short amount of time I'm here, I'm trying to do so many things. So I think, at that point of time, even here, I make sure I get my good amount of sleep and just cut off everything.
How much of adoption of technology has changed your training today as compared to, the older times, in terms of how much of technology you are adopting in evolving and maturing your training, both on the court and off the court, what you do in your strengthening and elsewhere?
I think it's changed significantly a lot in terms of now training specifically for tennis and my movements. Before we used to just blindly run. Somebody used to say run 5 rounds off this ground, do 5,000 skipping, not related to, what you're trying to do. I'm not saying back then when I was trying, the trainer didn't know that what is the right thing to do. There was no really internet to Google and say, or look at it. He just was learned that way. He did everything. So everybody did everything. Being an individual sport, trying to find that specific training for that individual is what has changed. So I do a lot of TheraBand related work, specifically for the way I play, the way I move, strengthening, if it's my serve, the action of that, using that kind of, routines. So those things have significantly changed in terms of, how I'm training, in terms of, when I started, even in my 20s to now in my 40s, that is, I think, made a significant change, and it has really helped. It has really helped, and otherwise you're constantly trying to do something, and I feel my body is sore, then I'm not able to play, need to feel healthy. So if you maintain, particular things which works for yourself, and not really look at others and saying, oh, he's doing it, I need to do it. I think that is something which took a while for me to understand and change, to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
And that is where, when somebody does that, I said, I respect everything you're doing, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So this is, as long as that happens, I think, it does make a huge difference.
No, that's a great point. In fact, before we started having this conversation, we were talking about wearables, and it was surprising to me that a professional elite athlete like you still doesn't have wearables, as people like me have 2-3 wearables on myself. How have you resisted the temptation? Because we read and hear about, let's say, a cricketer or a basketball player or a tennis player getting into a lot of wearables, tracking their heart rate, their sleep, and you just said that all it matters to you, a quality of sleep. So from not measuring what you really want a lot to really getting what you actually should get, how do you get to do that?
I think I control everything what, I am doing. I don't want to be controlled by something which I'm wearing, or to know, oh yes, have I had this, best sleep? Today I have a match, oh I've not slept well. Then, having that cycle or that chain to go on and say, okay, this is what happened. Today I didn't sleep well, so maybe that's why I'm hitting the serve, I'm missing because, certain things happened. So I really feel that, those things were never something which attracted me. Like I mentioned earlier, if somebody does it, I say, great, it works for you. But for me, I like it the old school way of just knowing, yes, I've felt good, I've slept good, I'm ready to go, for the match. If I have some niggles, I really feel it genuinely myself, not really knowing, okay, because I'm wearing this, I got, maybe, yes, that is definitely helped in many ways. I'm not saying, it's a bad thing or a good thing or in any such thing like that. But for me, I felt as natural it is, the better it is. And, even in terms of nutrition wise or taking electrolytes, I hardly take it. Banana is my go-to thing when I'm actually on court. If I need some food and energy, I'm constantly munching on a banana. And I'm, plain water is my go-to thing. Occasionally when it is 40 degrees and humidity, and I'm playing the third set, or if I'm really drained out, then I go into my electrolytes and I say, okay, this is what I need. But if at all, I know that next day is going to be humid. If I need to have some electrolyte, I have it the previous night. I feel that is when it has helped me. And I think biggest advantage for me is that I don't sweat.
Okay.
So in some way, I feel that is, has helped in my, journey.
I'm just wondering, as you were saying, a lot of, these new age consumer tech companies and food companies might just got demotivated, who were thinking to come and sign up an endorsement deal with you to say, wear our wearable or, eat our stuff, because they just realized that Rohan is more first principles, guys, keep it as simple as it is, and it's just working wonders for you. This is brilliant. What's typically your pre-match routine? Like, what do you typically have been doing which seems to be just working fine?
So 1 hour before I start even my warm-up, I mean, if it's a match day, I practice with my doubles partner for about half an hour as a warm-up.
Okay.
So before
you're hitting the ball.
Yeah, I'm hitting the ball. So before that even starts, I start doing my stretching and mobility an hour before I get onto the tennis court. So that is something with my physio, I get a good stretch. Then we go start doing my mobility right from from the head to the toe, slowly, each and every muscle, just making sure it's fully warm. Then get into dynamic warm up, and then eventually get on the tennis court. So when I get and I hit that first ball, my body is extremely warm and ready to go from the word go, because and when you get onto the match as well, you just have 5 minutes to warm up and straight away go full on. You don't have really time, especially in doubles, you don't have really time to slow and then get into the match slowly. So these things I think are extremely important to, make sure you're doing. And it helps not getting injured or making sure your body is well prepared for, so that is something which is I've been doing for years and years, and obviously change a few things depending on how my body is feeling, but that is something, I've kept at it.
Any funny or a quirky routine you have seen? I mean, we have seen, for example, Nadal, he would jump, he will sprint, he will scream, he will shout. And there was this Netflix documentary where this was very well shown and how that annoys his competition. So in your playing career, have you come across any quirky, funny pre-match routine of some players?
I think probably would be me only, hanging upside down, after starting yoga.
Are you doing Iyengar yoga before that?
So actually my yoga teacher, when I asked him this once, and he said, if you're feeling a little rushed on the tennis court, after, if it's one set all, just do maybe like a shoulder stand or a headstand, just before that, when you have the 90 seconds.
Yeah.
I said, of course not. I can't do it on the tennis court. I said, get up. He said, because what happens when you do that, so the blood goes, into the brain, and kind of calms you down, if you're feeling it. I said, I don't want to try that, but, suddenly me hanging upside down, I'm sure some people in the, warm-up areas wondering what I'm doing, and yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I think athlete has their own little quirks that you keep seeing, and when you keep seeing it every day, it doesn't look like a surprise.
Let's talk about mental strength. It's been said, and I think you've, in this conversation so far, you've multiple times touch point. That's your superpower. What does mental health mean to you?
I think it's the number one thing in terms of being happy in a place wherever you are. I think for me, that learning really happened after we got married, and Supriya, being a psychologist, taught me a lot about the subject. On how important it is to have a communication constantly of whatever you're feeling, and to express it. Sometimes we think to bottle up things, and then we keep, it's a nature of, I think, us as humans that, sometimes we just bottle up things. We're not used to, just speaking to anybody, especially, like I said, when we are traveling, it's a lonely tour, you're trying to figure out everything yourself. So So just by starting to communicate, chat, with somebody who you really feel confident with, I think makes you get into a better space. Then I understood that how much of an important factor it is to be in a calm, happy mind space, even in whatever you're doing. And I think that has, over the years, where I started slowly doing a little bit of breathing, meditation, just to get myself in that calm space. Before my match, I take a 15-minute nap. It's been something I've always done. So because you're always in this rush of so many things going on in a tennis court, there are 20 courts, all matches going on at the same time. There's so many things happening. So sometimes just to calm yourself down, that 15-minute nap, I remember still once when my wife was traveling, I said, wake me up after 15 minutes. And it was, I'm a quick person who goes to sleep right away. And we were in Washington, D.C. and she was traveling and I said, I'm going to do this. And so I went to sleep and then it was only 30 minutes later then she woke me up. And then I looked at her and I suddenly I flustered. She's like, she was like, she thought, oh, okay, let him sleep. He's sleeping. Let me not, wake him up. But I said, that is the thing I want. I don't want, because then I get into kind of being more lazy, different zone. So then obviously she didn't know that, right? So then she quickly understood that. And, so even those small routines, I think, kind of makes a big difference in terms of being refreshed when you go on to the match, and to understand. And the other thing I think for the mind is my coach, he doesn't give me too many instructions. He gives me specific small instructions, which he says is not really required. Sometimes a lot of the people are giving you so many instructions, your mind is confused with what to really do. So you give him, he said, I'm not teaching you a forehand or a backhand. He's just telling me, okay, my serve is going, if our opponent has a weaker backhand and I'm somehow missing that in the match, is that specific things which I think kind of helps, improve that brain, mental calmness and, understand yourself better.
How much of this you take into the court? Like a lot of this you're doing off the court, because in a someone like you, in a professional athlete's career, the difference in the decision making is very quick. It's nanoseconds sometimes, right? And let's say a lot of other people who are non-professional athletes, they have time. They can go meditate in a situation where it's a critical moment, you're losing, or you're going to lose, or it's a very critical moment of the game. You don't have time now to go meditate or perhaps do a cold dip or listen to a music. A lot of other people have that. Mostly people in a 9 to 6 job, they can just go for a walk. How much of what you do, like you said, in terms of helping you in your mental strength is parallel to what you eventually can do on the court, or there are different techniques what you'll have to do on the court to be more aware and find in that focus moment?
It is a little bit different because everything happens, like you said, so quickly. You need to start trusting your instincts. So that is the minute we start doubting it, the entire game style changes. So sometimes, your feet are not moving and I'm just using my arms. That's only because I'm thinking and nervous with the fact. So the minute that happens and, like for example, Nadal, one of the reasons he does that because he wants to, from the beginning, make sure his feet are moving. When your feet are moving quickly, your brain also starts functioning much better. So, just taking sometimes small deep breaths before the next point or taking a few steps, players go mostly to the towel because it is that 20 seconds they get time to really think and construct what what kind of point they're going to play. So those things are very different. You don't get much time. And sometimes even to write down plan A, plan B, and then go through it because there's, right now, for the past 1.5 years, coaching is allowed. Before that, coaching was not allowed. So, it was very difficult to get any instructions from the outside. So you had to figure it out everything yourself there on court, and there is no really second chance in tennis. So today is the day you need to bring in your 100% no matter what. There is no, and when you're on that court, on that field, it is truly that split second decision. You got to take it and you got to stick to it. And that is where I think, a major part in terms of when you're practicing also, those particular drills of doing that split decision helps you on the tennis court. On the match days, rather.
Does this framework evolve? So I'm kind of thinking 2012, your first Olympics, you're representing the country, and in the doubles tournament, you have a situation with your partner, and you had to go and choose another partner. I mean, young age, you must be what age then? 2012 Olympics?
I was 32.
Okay, 32. Yeah. First Olympics for you, very big platform. How do you make that decision? How do you get out of the stress? Forget the decision making. How do you come out of the stress first, where a lot of attention is on the partner, and you have to play your game, and now you're looking for another partner who cannot be a different country because you're representing the country. At that moment, what did you do? How did you come out of the stress? Because that's something which you have done.
Yeah, but it was extremely difficult situation, very different, situation, because at the end of the day, you are representing your country. You're not just playing for yourself. It was very difficult to focus on tennis there because there was so much going on around, the tennis. So to be in the right frame of mind, at that point of time, and you're staying in athlete village, you don't, your coach or your family members can't stay with you. It is very different to really cut out and do that. It definitely took a toll. No matter what, I think a lot of the people don't understand what athletes really go through. And in terms of tennis, you are always used to taking your own decision. You've been taught that way. That sport has taught you that way. There is no one else who's really helping you in that journey. Suddenly you come to an Olympics or an Asian Games where it is not your decision. You just have to, follow what is going on, and whether it is, that it may be not the right decision or the wrong decision. So even if you take the right decision, there is so much of baggage around it. I think that also affects, when you go into a games like that, and, affects your tennis. And it did affect, I think, us at that point of time, that there's so much of negativity that you are not unable to even play your own style. Because anytime you miss or you're down, then you feel that there's so many eyes kind of watching you that you need to fail here.
How do you build the conviction and trust on these varied people who are giving you now advices on what is good for you? There is the association, there is the well-wishers, there are perhaps the experts, all telling you what you should be doing. And then, like you said, there is your instinct, which may not perhaps be the best thing you may eventually pursue. How do you build that conviction, trust, that whom to go for?
I think it's an extremely difficult thing. I mean, first you need to go with the instinct of who the right person is, and really stick to that. If the minute you start taking advice from few people is when everything goes into haywire, because everybody are, speaking whatever the situation is. And, I still remember that when that situation came out and a lot of people were trying to contact my parents and to speak about it. And I remember, my parents and me, we spoke about it, and I told them just not to say anything about it, just stay away from it, because it was not their battle. Or, it was, and they also knew that so far my tennis has got to a certain stage because I have taken the decision and gotten there.
Yeah.
So I think they respected that in terms of that. And it was extremely difficult, to figure out who, thankfully Supriya was there, but it was also very new to her, right? I mean, we had just gotten married, we got married actually end of the year. So we were engaged, and suddenly so many things were, going on where she hadn't kind of seen that. So it was very different for her, but I think thankfully Scott was around, someone who always gave me very good advice, and he was I think the person I spoke to, and I don't know if the decision what we did that time was right or wrong, but we just stuck to the decision we had decided in December to do, and we just continued with that journey.
You played with and against Roger Federer. What is that which most people don't know, which makes him the GOAT?
I think how he changed the sport, not only on the court but off the court as well. He was somebody who I think communicated with all the players, understood how to. Even though he was such a great champion, no matter where he met some players, he always was amazing with the players. Spoke to each and every one of them. Especially when he was in the locker rooms, he was as free as possible. The other biggest thing was he was a big fan of cricket. His mom is from South Africa, and there were many times where we were at Wimbledon in the locker rooms, and Roger and me used to play cricket. It was, I think there were twice or thrice when we were warming up.
With your tennis racket, or you had a proper bat?
No, actually with a tennis racket butt of the tennis racket, and then just doing underarm, some off spins and leg spins, and doing it in the warm-up area. It was, I think, 3 times we were in the warm-up area, the similar juncture, because we were playing matches which were similar times on different courts, and we happened to be there, and so that is.
So who's a better cricketer between two of you?
Me.
So Roger has a lot to catch up on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he can be GOAT in one, but not everywhere.
No, but his knowledge for sport, I think, is incredible. I think that is, I still remember once he came up and he said, I watched this sport on TV. He said, I think it's, from India, and there were 5-6 people on each side, and one person was going the other side trying to touch somebody and come back. So it was the Kabaddi League which was going on. It was, I think, shown in UK, and he was watching this, and he came and he asked me about it. So I said, yeah, it is. I said something like tag. If I had to explain it, I said by the time I explained Kabaddi to him, it was going to take a while. But he's always curious, wants to know, wants to learn, and I think he's given back so much to the sport as well. Not only the sport, but I think helping so many wonderful kids, organizations, everything. And I think that is a warm-hearted person, and that I think is why he stands out in many ways.
No, for sure. I think the greatest has to be, you are called the greatest not just from one sphere, but what you do outside of that sphere. So, I think we are lucky in this generation. We have seen some of the, greatest across different sports. And clearly a lot of them has set up the right playbook in terms of how one should play the sport and be an ambassador of the sport. And you're one of them. You once said, and I quote, once you reach top, you don't want to stop. How do you balance between perseverance and reality? And I say this from a perspective that often, I come from the startup world, and often, the common notion is that if something is not working, you should keep be on it, but there's always a thin line of it won't work. So maybe it's a good time for you to stop and then restart something else, or take a pause and then come back something else, right? In life in general, right? If something is not working, you'll have to take a pause. But it may not be exactly true in every sphere. So how do you, and in your case, you're already at the top, how do you take that decision that it's time to stop because that's the reality, or I should just be at it, the perseverance and the persistence, because it can still take you places?
No, yeah, it's a very tricky thing, and I think when you change your limitations to opportunities, that's when I think it does, help in many ways. I said yes. When you're at the top, you don't need to stop, because we all pick up something to reach at the top, and very, very few people get what or do what they love and get to the top. So all these years of hard work and being there and, traveling week in, week out, all these, tough places, cities you've been through. And I look back and think of it. Today I'm at such a happy place of what I always wanted to be at. So I'm enjoying that, and there is no time to really pause and take back. I can't tell myself take 3 months off here and then come back, because tennis as a sport is something you need to be constantly playing, because I can't just freeze 3 months my ranking and then say, okay, I'll come back and get into the tournaments. Your rankings are something which is always constant. It stays for 12 months from the time you get those points, and then it goes away. So you need to find a way. Like in 2021, I went 5 months without winning a match. So that I still remember that's when I maybe took a pause, and the pause was just that evening when I was sitting in Portugal across the ocean, and I'm telling myself, okay, maybe it's time to stop. I mean, I've started in January, I've come to April here now, I've not even won a match. Then I went for 2 more tournaments again, starting into May, and then I hadn't won a match. And that's when probably you get to pause, but not really for that long period of time. Yes, if you lose Monday and the next tournament is following Monday, you get that 6 days to really pause and to think. And when you start looking at it as a new opportunity, the new week being a new opportunity, and I think that is where your mindset kind of changes.
You said very beautifully, your limitations becomes your opportunity.
Actually, my wife one day told me this.
Is that?
It was actually her who then, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
No, thank you for Supriya to putting that line out. And do you think that's been an anchor to your longevity? Because, what you do today, and like I said in the beginning, that it's very rare we see at this level. So is that the driving, anchor that has made you come, that you're not pausing and you're continuing to push your limitations to your opportunity?
Truly, Dilip, because I think everyone else sets limitations for you, which in the end, you think that is what I need to do and that is where I can reach. At 20, I need to do this. At 30, I need to do this. At 35, this is what I can do. At 40, this is what, okay, it's done. My career is done. So when you change that, right, those things to opportunities and say, okay, I'm still here at 35, here I'm at 40. Let's do something, let's create something. Let's see where I can push myself. Like as we mentioned earlier, I have no cartilages. Every 6 months I go take an MRI just to see how much can I push more. I take it more in the hope that it may have grown back, but obviously not. But then that is where I said, okay, this is what it is. It has not really gotten worse, but here's an opportunity to, push my limits more. So yeah, truly, that is something which has definitely, helped me in this journey.
So Ron, most part of your career, you played with a partner. When you're looking for a partner, what traits are you looking outside of the technical skills?
I think number one thing, someone I get along with, which is a big important factor, because you spend majority of your time with that person in terms of, we spend all good 8-9 hours on the tennis court in terms of not only just playing matches, but before warming up, because in tennis, you don't know especially if you're followed by, on the schedule, you don't know, there's no guaranteed time that you're going to go on the court. So you're spending a lot of time on the tennis court, meals when you're traveling, you end up, having with your doubles partner there, especially when if the family is not traveling or something, you're just by yourself and you're going to this country, you need to eat, and we're eating 3 meals in a restaurant. I think apart from breakfast, lunch and dinner, invariably you end up spending so much of time with that person. So I think that thing is extremely important in getting along. I think helps you on the tennis court as well, especially in crucial moments when you're or sometimes you go through a few tournaments where you're having tough losses, where both of you all can come together. So that, I think, is a significant factor. And thankfully, over the years of being on the tennis circuit, I've known most of the players. Most of the players have come onto this tour after me as well. So in a way, that has really helped.
You have a new partner, Matthew. You guys started brilliantly this year. This year has been good for you. How do you go about in choosing that partner? And funny, like you said, unlike tennis, in life, you get to spend a lot of time dating, and then you could get into a partnership. But in a sport like tennis, you don't get enough time to date, and the partner is going to make or break your career. So, how do you go about in choosing your partner? Like in the canvas of the entire world, you have so many players. And then what general advice have you for people based on your experience, because you've worked and you have played with many partners from different cultures and different countries. So what advice you have got for people in helping them choose partners?
I think number one thing, you just got to try it and test it out, test the waters to see,
So essentially you are saying that go and date as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the only way. So, and the second thing is, you need to figure out whether your rankings qualify you enough to all these tournaments. So you need to find a similar rank, partner or ranks. The higher the rank, the better, easier to get into all these tournaments, because what happens in doubles is, say for example, it's a draw of 32, that is 32 teams, and you were ranked 5, I'm ranked 6, we just add up our rankings, and hence the 32 teams are formed. So it purely depends on clearly that kind of ranking. So you need to figure in terms of that as well, apart from first trying to see what kind of game style matches you and how you get along with that partner. So choosing, partners never easy. You want to sustain with one partner, and I think playing with Matthew this year, in a way we both got kind of lucky to be playing with each other, because at the end of the year, both our partners who we were playing with last year decided to take different routes. My partner I was playing with wanted to play with his countrymen from Netherlands, middle coupe. He wanted to play with Robin Haase, and Max Purcell, who was playing with Matthew Ebden, wanted to pursue his singles career, so he didn't want to really focus on doubles. So it was literally the last week of the ATP circuit in Paris. We were in Paris Masters, and we both had no partners all of a sudden going into 2023. And then, we said, okay, let's give it a shot, let's try it. And we spoke and we said our goals are, of course, to do well in the Grand Slams, the Master Series, and qualify for the year-end finals. And we went into Australia. We played 2 tournaments, lost first round on both these tournaments. Now you're doubting yourself. I mean, like I said, you got to test the waters to see how it goes. But thankfully, I think we didn't jump into conclusion to say, okay, let's find someone else, and not rush that situation. I think that in a way, both of us playing the circuit for a while and having that experience, we said, okay, let's see how it goes. We said we'll try it out for a good 3-4 months and then see how it goes. And then February onwards, we started gelling better. We started understanding each other better and what our strengths and weaknesses are. And I think the year has been kind. I mean, it's been the best years on the circuit for me. And I think just sticking to a partner helps that journey.
Of course, an incredible year you guys have. But so character or skill, what's more important when you're choosing the partner?
I think character first, without a doubt. I mean, everybody is there, talented, has that skill. But if your characters don't really get along, it's going to last a very short period of time.
What is the one common trait you have seen in all your doubles partner which you don't have?
Quickness. I think that's something I pick, especially as I'm getting older. I try to find, partners who are more swifter than me, because with my powerful game, I feel that's a good combination I look for.
And is that some assessment what you get into it post you meet a partner? Is there like a a small courtship period where you figure it out, okay, what's complementing each other, or you do a pre-screening before reaching out to a potential partner to see whether there is a fitment?
Pre-screening, if you're ranked high enough, you have that options because everybody wants to partner with you.
Yeah.
When you're not ranked that high enough, you can't really do a pre-screening. So, it purely depends on what juncture at that point of time, you are. Last year, I was 22 in the world in the end of the year. So I'm also looking for some partner to be equally ranked or higher ranked. Today, I'm ranked 3 in the world. I have all the options tomorrow. If I open up and say I'm looking for a partner, I'll get a number of messages saying they would like to play, because anybody ranked even low will get into tournaments, because like I said, a combined ranking will help them. So, but definitely does help narrow down when you look at a few partners on who could be a potential before trying to ask them. This tennis double circuit it's brutal because you never know when the switch happens and whether you can get dumped, So it happens pretty quickly, pretty often, and I think that is something many players fail to understand, that if you do able to sustain it, it could be a fruitful partnership.
Talking about partnerships, the Indo-Pak Express, the famous partnership you had with Qureshi. Talk to me, how did that come along? Because that era was not the most ideal bilateral relationships we had with Pakistan. So how did that come along? You partnering with someone who is from perhaps from a country which is not having ideal relationships. How did that come along?
So I met Aisam in 1997. I was 17 years old. He had come down to India to play a junior tournament. And few of the other Indian players already knew him before, and that's the first time I got introduced to him. And after that, we went to a few tournaments, traveling in Asia and Europe and everything. And I kept seeing him because we were playing the similar calendar. So slowly our friendship, grew. Especially when you're traveling and you have the Americans or South Americans or European, they stick together, because either they're speaking similar languages which they understand. And here there were many times that we were going to tournaments. There was one Indian, one Pakistani traveling to these tournaments, and he spoke Urdu, I spoke Hindi. We kind of gelled in that way, and a friendship grew over the years. And it was easier to have a companion to travel with, go for dinners with, so that friendship built tremendously. And I think it was a good decade before we started playing doubles together. It was just so happened we were in Bristol in UK, and we were both entered in that challenger for singles. We were playing a lot of singles challenges that time, and we didn't have a partner. And we said, okay, let's try and play this week. And we didn't even know at that point of time whether I was better on the left side of the court or he was better on the left side or right side, on which we just said, okay, because our priority was singles, was not really doubles. And we ended up, playing a few tournaments after that also. We said, okay, let's play. And the third tournament, into the third challenger, we ended up winning the challenger. And so we said, okay, this is great. It pays for also a lot more travel, and you get a little bit extra money to travel. And, so why not? I mean, and hence, I think we started playing a lot more tournaments, and we played for good 3-4 years before anyone even noticed that we were playing together. It was only later when we did well in Wimbledon, when we reached the quarterfinal. Yeah. That's when the entire world said, oh, there is an Indian and a Pakistani, playing together. And for us, it didn't feel any different. I mean, we were friends and we traveled and we, played already for such a long period of time. It didn't feel at all that, for once I said, okay, this guy is from Pakistan, our countries maybe don't have the best relationship, but I'm not going to play with him. So it was purely tennis, purely a great friendship. Till today, it still is a great friendship. And, hence, that partnership came along.
How was it? Because unlike any partnership, how were you able to wean off? I'm sure people might have been reaching out to you from different walks of life, perhaps talking you out from this relationship. What made you into it? Because it's not an easy space to be in. Like, it's doing good for you in terms of your career, but when you look at from a societal or from an external point of view, you've been construed from a different perspective, right? So how are you able to wean that off? Because you're now no more looking from a patriotical point of view, but you're looking at from a career point of view.
Ajay, funny thing was that we always had great encouragement.
Oh, okay.
We never had someone say, you know what, why you are playing. They were curious to know how this partnership came along, but never really once when he said, do not play with that person. So which was great, and it was two countries supporting one team. It doesn't happen often.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, we had the ambassadors of both our countries come and watch us, play in the US Open semi-finals, and that was something unique and amazing to have two ambassadors from different countries come and support one team. And I think it was fantastic, the encouragement, and in the locker rooms or the tennis matches anywhere, the players, nobody really spoke about it. The only time I think we sat separately and really were away from one another if India-Pakistan played a cricket match. Okay. And obviously we supported our respective countries, and I still remember we were in Mumbai, we were playing the ATP Kingfisher Open back then, and India was playing the World Cup T20 final against Pakistan. And we were watching that match, and India, won that match by literally the last ball.
Yeah, the Dhoni one.
So, yes, exactly. And 45 minutes or an hour later, we had to go on a court to, to play our match. But he was sitting by himself and watching this match when the entire, crowd there was supporting for India. It was very different, obviously. And even though he was, holding his nerves and everything, but, that's this friendship I think, we have shared. We've not really looked at it in, in terms of saying the countries are, going through these situations, and we don't need to, figure that out. We purely left it for enjoying being on the tennis court, what tennis has, given us, and the success it has given us, and had that great friendship.
Another highlight of your partnership career has been your coach, Scott Davidoff.
Yeah.
12 plus years now and counting.
That's right, yeah.
What has worked for you guys, so beautifully that the relationship had lasted 12 years plus?
Biggest thing is how simple and calm as a person he is. I mean, no matter what the situation, it doesn't faze him, I feel. That is something which, first thing it struck, whether I'm worked up and, something's not right, he lets me talk, lets me vent it out, and then comes up with his perspective of what he needs to say. Or, no matter who came on the tennis court with me, whether it was friends, family, he always, made them understand how the sport works, what it is. So not only on the tennis court, everything around it also. And he had already been in the tennis coaching world for a good 20 plus years. And I feel somebody like him I needed, because I was coming up in the sport. I needed someone to already have been there and not be coming up with me and getting overwhelmed with the situation, being at these tournaments or being at situations for the first time. So he had already been through that journey with some other players, so he was very well experienced. And I think that is something I needed. I needed somebody very experienced to understand double specific what is needed, how to go about it, and plus him being in that tennis circuit always knew when practice with players was needed, whether I need to do it myself. So that is, I think, a significant part till today. He always brings in, like I said, he just speaks minimal in terms of when it comes to tennis. Otherwise, any city, like the tennis currently now when you play at the highest level, goes to the same cities over and over again. And he's somebody who knows and walks the city and knows the city's back of his mind. I call him my tourist guide, so, and he's a gem of a person. he's more like a family now. He's not really, though he's my coach, but he's truly family. And he came to our wedding in Coorg. Something for him it was very different because he's been to India before, but coming to Coorg, is something extremely different. So he's super special, and I'll always be thankful that he has been part of this journey, and a very big part of my success is thanks to Scott as well.
No, I think it's a very rare highlight because it's very rare to see a guide and a mentor attached to someone for this long, not just in sport or even tennis, but in general. And therefore, I wanted to ask, because you have that vantage point, something has definitely worked for you guys. What advice do you have for others who are seeking out coach, mentor, not just from sports angle, but generally in life, work? How would they want to evaluate a guide or a mentor? And I want to say, like, mostly from what I have seen, let's say in the business world, you typically want to get guided by someone who has been successful. So either he has been, had some certain amount of wealth, or he has created a bunch of companies, or if it's let's say someone in running, you would rather say that someone who is a great runner himself. But as an observant, I have seen is that not always a great sportsman could be or will be a great coach. In fact, history says that the greatest coaches have never been the greatest player in that sport. So what is your advice to people who would be looking out for coaches? What should they look out?
To just be patient with that journey, whoever you're going to, and not really try to look for quick results. I think that is something which is key. No matter who it is, you're absolutely right in the fact of saying, the best coaches have not been, the best tennis players out there. But I think it's to find out how they understand the bigger picture. It's not necessarily their success which is going to give you great advice. It is about how they shape your journey of you understanding and to understand you as a person, not necessarily teach the same way to 10 different people. It's not just one book and say this is the way to go. To understand you as how a person is, how to communicate. And I think that is something when you build a rapport is who you need to really share with and go along with that journey and have full faith in him. Never really, even if you have a judgment, it's the communication which helps. I mean, we've had numerous arguments, but 5 minutes later we are absolutely fine because we are there speaking about it. He will if I'm not happy with a particular drill I do, I want him to explain it. So I think when you push them, so that person knows exactly how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and they understand you better. So I think that rapport is more important than just looking at somebody who's been successful and guaranteed that, my success also will happen just because I'm speaking to somebody who's super successful.
And interestingly, if I flip it, now you are at a point where you're also playing with your partners in some instances in, the recent Asian Games where the player is much younger to you, and therefore you have to balance the act of being a guide and a colleague. And like you said, there will be instances as a colleague you may want to argue because both are having an equal playing field. But at the same time, you're also a senior and therefore you might be also looked upon as a guide or a mentor. How much of that changes, or is it easy or hard to balance the act being a guide and a colleague together?
I think it comes from experience. You kind of, that's the growth you learn over the years. I mean, I'll give you a great example since you mentioned Asian Games. So we are at the final of the Asian Games. I'm playing with Rutuja. So I can see she's nervous, but she obviously doesn't come and tell me this, right? So when we start playing, I obviously notice, and then she knows, that herself she's not playing freely. We end up losing the first set. So we're sitting in the changeover. We have about 90 seconds. So, so I told her, right now, forget about what has happened. We can't change that. Let's look forward. So I told her, I wanted to look at the entire stadium, look at the crowd. I said, enjoy where you are, because tomorrow we don't know whether we'll be here or you may be here, but today start enjoying the situation and everything. So I just was trying to get a mind more relaxed to start with. Before I told her what the next strategy was. And that strategy was that she was playing on the right side of the court, which is called the deuce court. And I was playing on the left court, being the ad court. And I'd already, after that, at the end of the set, I told myself that I'm going to switch sides, which doesn't happen often, especially in between a match. So just when the referee was about to call time, I told her, Rutuja, from this set, you will go and play on the ad side. And I'll play on the deuce side. I said, we got to give it a shot and let's do that. So I didn't want to straight away bring it up to her because obviously the situation would have been overwhelming, and she's, the whole match, the 4 matches we played like this, and this is something new. One of the reasons I did that was because the first point then comes to the deuce court always, to the, So I wanted to take pressure off her by giving her that first point and then play her game. But I didn't tell her that at that point of time why I was doing it. I told her after the match. But that automatically changed the situation. And so a lot of people ask me, what were you thinking? So I said, I was glad I was thinking. Right? If I was not somebody who was come with that experience. And I said, I personally decided that, and I was ready to take the blame tomorrow if it didn't work. So, these are the things I think which life teaches you.
Yeah.
And today we are sitting, both of us are sitting with, having a gold medal for the country. And, these are the small things which does make a difference for tomorrow, maybe give somebody a pathway to, grow and get bigger.
No, for sure. I mean, I was reading and catching up, Rujita's interview, and it clearly showed how much she had it in having you as a partner. And there were instances when she was saying that she had to pinch herself to see that she was having you. And I'm sure, kudos to her to not get intimidated by a figure like you, and to come in and make yourself comfortable, even though you are not, and go out and play as equal partners. That's super hard.
Absolutely. It's not easy, and I didn't really know her that well. I just had seen briefly a game, and somewhere in back of my mind, I was like, okay, this person could complement the way I play, because she's got a big serve, big forehand. And with my 6'3" wingspan, I thought, I could really intimidate someone at the net. And I think that really, helped in a big way. And so really hats off to her to have, sustained that, pressure and be there, because I really pushed her to the limits, I think.
No, I mean, upside is she had perhaps, the biggest turning point of her career, and I'm sure she's going to go up ranks. Talking about turning points, 21 years of being part of the Indian Davis Cup, you finally said goodbye to the circuit. Talk to me about the decision-making process, because you're not retired yet, and we have to talk about that. Talk to me the decision metrics. What made you think that this is it for Davis Cup, and you are still in the other circuit, but 21 years of being part of the Indian team, and you got to say goodbye. So what made you make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, extremely proud to have represented India for 21 years. I mean, it doesn't happen often that in sport you're able to, play for that long. And I still today remember my parents' dream was for me to one day play for India. So when that happened, when I debuted for India in 2002, my dad threw the biggest party in Coorg, just to, having said that, yes, 21 years later, I said, okay, I'm going to call it a day. And I wanted to do it having a tie at home. Davis Cup happens only twice a year. So the chances of us playing in India is very rare. Purely because it depends on who you played against, or it happens in lots. Or in case you played a country, if you had played in India, the next tie is always in their country. So the opportunity came up that we were playing Morocco in India, and I was hoping it was going to be in Bangalore. I would have loved to have had it in Bangalore, and it would have been a perfect setting, and for me to finish here. But I'm playing and going through the journey. Every week off kind of helps the body, and Davis Cup. 1 week I'm there, I play literally one match, and I felt that there were other players now slowly coming up. Yes, even though I am the highest ranked, I'm still playing there. There are other players there who can, get into that role and sustain that role. Even in singles, there are young guys coming up. So it'll be a good, team change, team camaraderie needs to be built. And that was something kind of lost. I also felt not that happy to be there. In a way, I felt the guys today are playing it more like a job, not really as a good team atmosphere. They come, play their match, and they go back. And I feel that was something which needs to be changed. And that is why I love Davis Cup. I'll be being in that camaraderie, being around, players that 1 week, having fun with the boys. Yeah, it was just that was the beauty of, playing team sport, especially when we play individual throughout. And that was something which was missing. So I think everything added up. And I said, okay, this is the right time to, call it a day from Davis Cup. I'll continue on the circuit. And I said, I'm still in touch with all the boys. Every time they need help, I'm, happy to guide them. And, a lot of the guys said, that they would still want me to be part of it, maybe not playing, but because the way I cheer, I help them. I said, yeah, maybe one day, I'll still be part of the Davis Cup team in some way. But this time, I said, it gives me that extra week off, spend time with the family, be at home. And so that was, I think, all put together. First person I told that I was going to maybe make this decision was Supriya before I started deciding to tell, the rest of the people. Yeah.
No, I'm sure Bopsy is going to be missed a lot. I heard and read that you're known amongst the boys by the name Bopsy.
Yeah, so, it's Bopsy, yes. It's all kinds of, when you play for this long, all kinds of names.
All different names will come, but the last one name standing is Bopsy, so for sure you will be missed a lot. And really thank you for for everything what you've done for the team for this long. I don't know if there's any other player who might have played for the country that long. But playing also comes at a cost, and tennis is known as a gentleman's game. Being a gentleman comes at a cost. The cost here being honest. US Open's final early this year, you got a point. Your partner Matthew did a serve. It hit your forearm. The point was given on your side, but you went up to the referee. And I'm saying this out, I'm not sure how many people might have followed that point. Many have, but still it's a refresher that you went up to the referee and say, hey, it hit your forearm and therefore it should not be a point, and you had to forego and forfeit the point. Many say it probably might have costed you the game. Not sure how true that is, but tell me, in such instances, do you really go and talk to your partner? Because this is influx. I saw the video. It was instant and impromptu decision, and it is not just impacting you, but it's also impacting your partner. Being honest, do you at that point of time think about the partnership, or do you think about what's right, which is being honest?
I think it was straight away it came up of doing the right thing, and I was always taught that way from a very young age. It was very instinctive. I don't think even my partner realized when he hit that forehand, it touched my forearm. And I called it upon myself straight away, and I went and spoke to him, and I told him, this is what has happened. And he's also somebody who's, very honest, and, he understood right away. I don't think I was looking at the fact that where I was or what the situation was. No matter which time of the year or career or juncture it would have been, I think I would have done the same thing. And that is what I have been as a person, and I've been following it. And it's inbuilt in me. So I think the referee also was confused that she was not sure what was going on, because she asked me a few times, what happened. But I think it was purely instinctive, and it was the right thing to do, because I feel maybe if I'd won that match and knowing the fact that the ball touched my hand, I didn't own up to it, I don't think I would have had probably sleepless nights. So, I think I'd rather own up to it and just do the right thing. And, whether it was known, people spoke about it or not, but I know personally this was the right thing to do, and hence, I called it upon myself.
Did your daughter Trida see that? Does she know about it?
Yeah, I mean, she saw that, but I don't think she understood what, the situation was. But she did see me roll down a few tears in that final, and then she was asking, my wife, or trying to muster the courage on how to meet me after that, because I don't think she had seen that side of me before. Yeah.
No, truly inspiring. I mean, world record, the oldest to we have played, a Grand Slam final. Stellar stuff to be at this level. You've played many rivals. Who's been your toughest rival, who has also taught you a lot in the way you've continued to play?
No, I think there have been, few players, especially the Bryan brothers, who have, the years, the way they have, first of all, who stuck together, and no matter the thick and thin, they always stuck together, and the way they conducted themselves, I think, is definitely the biggest rival for me. And you always wanted to go out there and beat them. I mean, every time that happened, you felt that you are improving, you belong there. Then they made sure you played your best tennis in order to get anywhere close to beating them. So they taught me a lot. Even when I watch them practice or watch their matches, I don't really significantly go and watch live matches so much, but whenever they played, I kept going and watching them, because initially few years when we played them, we were not even getting close to beating them. Then I said, okay, let me go study them a little bit more, just do a lot more research, because no matter how much of a video you see and watch live tennis, you see a little bit of patterns, little bit of things which you can pick up on, and I think that, kind of helped. And, clearly, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't really like going to school and studying, but I needed to study, here as well, and, do a lot more research. And those were my toughest rivals, I think.
Before, sitting down today, I had asked a bunch of people, I'm going to talk to you, and what question should I ask you? One of the most common question was that because you are the partnership man, having had, such an illustrious career of partnerships, how do you manage conflict in a partnership, conflict management in particular? Because in your case, the multiple variables, individuals from different cultures, different temperaments, therefore, different stakes. Like you said, they would be at different rankings, but you're doing it for a common reason, to win. And that's what you see outside of sport in other aspects of life, whether you're doing a startup, whether you have a co-founder, whether you're a family, you have you two partners. What has worked for you in terms of conflict management? How do you kind of manage that?
Not bottling things up and communicating with your partner. Just being honest with the situation. Sometimes it's hard, because everybody, like you said, comes from various different backgrounds. It is tough. But to find the right moment to sit down, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to communicate, especially one-on-one. Sometimes what happens is you communicate through the coach, which is again not healthy, because the coach kind of protects in some way. He doesn't communicate. So sometimes if you go at it, but you understand you're doing it for the bigger picture, bigger journey, it is far better. There are times when it's happened first or second round, you end up winning, but the situation has not been great, but you communicate and you speak at it. The second round automatically gets better, because you have communicated and you really understand what, at the end of the day, you are trying to be the best, and you are trying to be, push all your limits. So you expect that from, the partner as well, and that's vice versa. So, truly it is communication which...
Has there been any situations where of all the partnerships you've had, you had to have you and your partner lock in one room and just hash out between each other and then come out saying that, okay, we are back on the game? I mean, any instances?
It has happened. I mean, it once happened, in Rome when I was playing with, my partner. We were really losing badly, and the energy was very negative on the court. And luckily for us, it started raining. So we went into the locker room, and then we just lashed out at, because it was playing in my mind and, what was happening, and we lashed out at each other. And an hour and a half later, when the rain stopped, we went back on court, and then, we ended up winning that match comfortably and making the semis, of the tournament. But yeah, it sometimes is needed. It sometimes happens at practice courts. There have been partners who, or you just walk off because you're not happy with the situation. But every time you communicate, I think helps, and that is, I think, the key aspect.
Yeah. Talk about setbacks. 2016 Rio Olympics, you and Sania semi-finals. The biggest milestone India has perhaps reached from a tennis perspective, and we lose the match. How did you guys come out of it? I mean, you still have to pursue a career. What was the conversation in the locker room, in the athlete village, which made you say that, okay, let's go back and again play tennis?
I don't think we are still over it, Dilip. I think one of the hardest moments in tennis, because coming fourth is, it's, no matter what, if somebody says you're going to finish fourth at Olympics, it may be great. But that time, that thing, I don't think neither of us are over that situation. I mean, no matter how many times you move on, I think that was extremely difficult to have lost that match, there. Especially when you're away from everyone in the locker room. I mean, locker room you're by yourself because mixed doubles, not even like you're sitting in the same locker room, right? I mean, and then you take a 10-hour flight to go into a next tournament wanting to play, but at the end of the day, that mind is not there. I mean, it's very, very hard. Very, very hard. Even till today, sometimes I think about it. I wonder why we have to play a bronze medal match. Why can't two teams, just get the bronze, looking at it, instead of... Because in tennis, we are not used to coming the following day and playing another match right away for such a significant, or the magnitude of a match. You lose in a Grand Slam, you come back next year to play that Wimbledon, or you go the next week completely. Here, within 24 hours, we had played the semi-finals, we lost that. 24 hours later, you're coming to play another big match for bronze medal. And you come back to the same court, sometimes you hit this ball and think, wish I hit this yesterday. I would have been in the final. It's so fresh, that memory, when you walk onto that court, when you're there, everything is so similar. So, yeah, I don't think we'll ever get over it.
Have you gone back and watched the match?
I don't think I can. Because it was one of those moments, there's, I don't know if we'll ever get back, right? To say, okay, maybe next time I'll do it again. It's never going to happen. So, thankfully, I don't know if I want to get back to a situation to go and sit and watch it, at least now, since I'm playing. Maybe, a few years later, somewhere, But still, anytime you watch it, you're like, maybe I could do something different. But you can't change that situation. So, I don't see that reason why I will actually go and watch that match again. Yeah.
We are still rooting you for not just Paris, but LA. So,
No, please.
So there are many more.
Let's be
so there are many more
really honest. LA is surely not happening.
But for sure, one step at a time, we'll reach Paris and then we'll talk about LA.
Yeah, I was really shocked when you mentioned LA.
No, but I don't want to impose a lot of expectation, but a lot of fans have that in their heart. And I say this because a lot of kids today are watching you playing at this level. They're aspiring to be a Rohan Bopanna. A lot of parents who wants to anchor their kids' aspiration. But let's accept it's a expensive sport. It comes at a huge cost. What do you think, or what do you suggest should be a starting point for a parent in particular who really wants to go and cheer their child's aspiration, but perhaps doesn't have the means today?
I think to find a good coaching center as much as possible, in terms of not just to send the kid to your closest, like for a tennis school, which is close to your home. Because I'm saying in this because we send our kids to the best of education, no matter what the distance for the school is from your house. But when it comes to sport, we want to send them to what is close to our house.
Yeah.
So we need to first give our kids a chance in that sport or whatever that field is. Like how we do it with education, we need to do simultaneously even that chance, even in tennis here, if you're talking about tennis, in that. So when you send them to the best places, give them a chance. And that's when you're creating an opportunity, and maybe the kid can pursue that. And sports today can make you a career. I think if I have to say, in India, we're still growing to understand that sport can be a career. A lot of people easily say that, there's no infrastructure, so we can't do it.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, and I was sitting in a coffee shop, and it came to my mind, I said, what about the infrastructure in UK, US, Canada? They all have great infrastructure. But there hasn't been an Indian coming back to play a professional sport, no matter which sport it is. Maybe occasionally 1, 2, it's because our priority is education that much. I mean, we play the sport at a junior level and then end up going to an Ivy school, right? So today the mindset slowly is changing, but still parents are happy to send their kids maybe 1 hour, maybe on the weekend to play sport. But to education, we do it 6-7 hours a day. So if we change that perspective and start giving sport a chance, I think that is a start. That is a start we need to do, and that is where I think parents today, like you mentioned before, that the parents' dream it is. But even if it's a parent's dream, we need to give that kid a genuine chance. Before that is where we are still need to start, I feel.
No, I completely agree. I think we also have to change the narrative of sport not being an extracurricular activity. For the larger part of our culture and society, because a large part of our country is middle class, we have always felt academics, which is right, but then sports become an incentive of doing good in academics. Like if you do your homework on time, you can go and play an extra hour, right? Or if you get good grades, you'll probably you'll be bought a racket. So it's always an extracurricular activity. So it need not be extra. It can be equally primary. And I think beyond just shoving off the pressure of that someone has to really pursue a career, I'm sure that might have been the case in your situation, where parent was not really thinking 35 years or 20 years out that you would become a star player and therefore tennis becomes a source of profession for you. It has to be just go out and let them explore what they can be good. Maybe in 10 months or a year they realize that they're not good at it and they can roll back and perhaps they can get into some other sport. But I felt that has to change, where like you rightly said, sport has to be given an equal importance, and then therefore it's a balancing act. Balancing act, Trida today is 4 years. Supriya, you might have been known for 20 plus years now.
Supriya?
Yeah.
No, about 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
You are traveling 300 days of 365 days. So sometimes family travels with you, most times not. Your daughter is not being around with you. But you still, I feel this, your family, and we've spoken about it on and off, has been a reason for your longevity in tennis and outside tennis. What has worked for you in terms of having this relationship, which perhaps others could take a cue, because I'm sure it doesn't come easy. You're not going off for a 9 o'clock job and coming back 6 o'clock. You're gone, literally. And there are instances where, let's say, daughter might not be keeping well, or you're not going for her school's program, but you still have to do what you want to do, or you should be doing. So what has worked for you in keeping the longevity of this relationship this far?
Before coming to this balancing thing, one thing I would like to mention is that, even when I was growing up, my parents didn't have the means. I mean, they took numerous of loans, I know, to, support my tennis. A lot of people did tell them was, why you're taking a chance? What if it doesn't become a tennis player? So my parents always said that, how do I know tomorrow if I want to make him a doctor, he'll guarantee become a doctor. He might stop anyway. So I'm spending still the significant amount. So that is where I think they had a really long-term thinking and gave me a genuine chance. I mean, till nobody's today takes a chance at the age of 21 to say, okay, let's keep going. Very few parents, think that far. So I feel genuinely we need to give us, the kid a chance. So I'm thankful, in that aspect. And coming back to, the balancing part, I think when Supriya started traveling with me, initially, to make her understand, what role she plays as a wife, and to understand how this sport works was extremely important in terms of there is no work from home option. And plus, when I'm traveling and understanding, the calendar and how, and making you understand why I'm traveling, what tournaments are important, and obviously it's too expensive to keep coming back, home, and so I could be away for 2-3 months. First, I think 2.5-3 years, she traveled with me every week, and then today she travels to the city she likes more so. So in a way, also, she made that huge sacrifice in order to build our relationship. She sacrificed, from her work and everything to travel with me, to build a good relationship and to strengthen that marriage. Because I couldn't, just be here at home or, manage that. I think that is where she understood how this job worked. It was living out of suitcase. It's never easy. When, like you said, travel 300 days, in a year, when you're constantly on the road. That was an important aspect for us to understand how everything worked, and this is how this journey was going to be. And every single week, it was the same routine. It was kind of, and then there were times where we understood and what role, like in terms of when I say what role, is that she was there to support and encourage and, be a part of me in some way, in a big way, but also to understand that she's not playing a coach's role or not playing a physio's role. They were all there for, so she, over the years, when it was match times on how it was, whether I was sleeping early, she did, those sacrifices, respected that, and, balanced that out. And I think today we have taught that, to our daughter as well, to understand what is priority. And her dad will be traveling, and we tell her right from the beginning, I am, traveling away for so long. Of course, she's very upset, and she wants to know when she can travel and be, with me on the road. And yes, I've missed numerous days, of a school, programs when I'm not there. And sometimes, we are on thankfully, the opportunity today to do a video call, and you can, speak and, do that. But still, it is difficult, especially as she's getting older. It is harder.
And have you given her a timeline?
I haven't given her any.
Has she asked you a timeline? Because the world is not asking you a timeline.
Yeah, no, she's not asked me any timeline. Actually, we were on a holiday last week. We were in Sri Lanka, and then she asked me when we're going back. She's like, "Are you going to be there in Bangalore?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be there." She's like, forever? So I said, yeah, for some, you're not going anywhere. So, even for her, she probably thinks I'm there for a few days, then I'm off. So thankfully she's been great, adaptive, and she loves to travel. And the one thing I told my wife when we were traveling, we needed to try all kinds of food. I said, I wanted to really enjoy, this travel experience. And I think travel is a great learner. So, thankfully that Supriya is able to still sacrifice a lot in terms of, for us able to travel and be together as a family.
No, we have to, this has been a fantastic conversation, Rohan. I can't thank you enough because a lot has been known about you, but I hope in this conversation we were able to unpack and explore a lot of your other side. But before I wrap up, I want to touch upon two more aspects which is I feel maybe unknown about you. The work, what you do outside of tennis. You also do a lot of philanthropic work. You're also a teacher. You have an academy where you're now teaching kids, and you were talking about a project which you want to pursue about giving back and helping underprivileged kids. So I want you to quickly touch upon that side of yours, the work you do in philanthropy, why is that important, and the project you want to pursue now.
I think, Dilip, it started, about 10 years ago, this thought of giving back to the sport, because I think the sport has given me so much. I'm here today because of, tennis. So, and I really feel that the structure in the country has not changed over the years, and I really feel that needs to change. The more I talk to a lot of the players, of course it's not easy. To change that system, and I told myself I need to start doing it myself. I'm not going to wait till the system changes or anything happens. I said, let's start by myself. So I started to started my academy. Literally giving back, getting all the getting the right structure in place. Just for whether it is 10 kids also, just giving them the right kind of fitness, right kind of tennis, just balancing all that out. Of course, constantly growing, learning myself, because when I start communicating with parents, I constantly understand what are the different roles they play, the challenges they have. And even at times I've gotten the question saying that, I'm playing doubles, how will I teach a kid singles? But I tell them it's not about doubles or singles, it's about the journey, what can be taught. And I feel we have a tremendous amount of talented kids who don't even have a place to go and play. Either you have to be a member of a club or go outside India to really join good academies. So I thought, let's give an opportunity here in Bangalore itself. One of the reasons we started the sports school with boarding, lodging, education, and tennis is so that I feel I never had this when I was growing up. Like I've said, we mentioned I was on my bicycle traveling 14-15 kilometers a day. I feel that needed to change. We needed to give players the amount of rest needed after their training, to class, and everything around it, and balance that out. And I feel today I want to start an underprivileged program, because I don't think tennis has ever gone to an underprivileged kids and taught this sport. So, and I really feel we need to start at the grassroots level. And I feel there are, so many kids who can maybe get this opportunity. We want to go around and select a few kids and, give back to the sport. And that's my passion. It comes naturally to me. And so I'm really happy that, this journey can be started, and, hopefully it will be successful.
No, I'm definitely, and I want to, mention, the academy, you operate Rohan Bopanna Tennis Academy. A lot of work you're doing there in educating and essentially making the future generations, come up and be a great player. So definitely people should go read up more about it, and I'm sure people will find a way to reach out to you. So, it's been an absolute pleasure, Rohan. Like I said, no pressure, LA, but definitely Paris. And after Paris, we'll talk about LA. But, before we wrap up, two pieces. One, if you had to go out and play doubles with someone, historical figure, non-tennis player, who would be that player and where would you want to play?
I would love to play with Michael Jordan.
Wow, okay.
In Las Vegas.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's I was just reading about Nadal and Alcaraz going to go and play out there, so it would be a great place, I think, to play with Michael Jordan there.
Okay, so I usually don't do this, but with you, I felt it would be fun. So quick rapid fire, 3 questions, very simple. Make a choice: Rafael Nadal or Novak Djokovic?
Rafael Nadal.
Wimbledon champion, Olympic champion?
Olympic champion.
I thought that would come easy. But this one I know it's easy. Coffee or wine?
Coffee.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack on the coffee side. But Rohan, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure knowing about you. And I hope, with this, a lot more people find that other side of yours, which they can take back, not necessarily in tennis. I'm sure, I don't even think, there are tennis fans who are watching or listening, but the idea was to see that mental model, what you have applied in your illustrious career this long, how they could apply in whatever pursuits they are doing, whether it's business, life, or passion elsewhere. And they can also, like you said, convert their limitations into opportunities. So thank you for Supriya also to coining that. But thank you for taking time and having this conversation with me.
Thank you so much, Dilip, for having me. It was absolute pleasure. I don't think I've spoken about the other side of me this much as much I have, today speaking with you. So thank you for, bringing out all those memories of my childhood and everything, and sharing that, with you and anyone who's listening. So. Hope to catch up with you soon again.
I look forward, and good luck for Paris.
Paris only, please. I'm happy to sit with you and just support all the athletes from India.
We'll find a way to sit again after Paris, and then perhaps chalk out a plan maybe for LA, or we'll make a plan for others to reach LA. Yes. But thank you, Rohan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a great time talking to Rohan. I hope you enjoyed, took a lot of cues in going out and exploring your other side. If you enjoyed, please send in some feedback that will help me get better what I do. I'm sure you know ways to reach out to Rohan. He's there in social media, so send him all the good wishes. You could just write a second line that let's go LA. No pressure, but Rohan will give it a thought. But thank you once again, and see you in the next episode with another guest exploring their other side. Goodbye.